name is Deanna Gross. I'm a communication PR major and I studied abroad in London, England. I chose to study abroad in London because it seemed like the only option to have an internship while I was studying abroad.
My name is Alexandra Kramer. I'm a fashion merchandising major with minors in business and product development, and I studied in London. I decided to study in London because I didn't want to have to deal with a foreign language, and I also wanted to intern while I was there.
My living situation in London was we all lived in the same building in a flat, and I lived in a triple room with in a flat of, I think it was 14 girls.
My living situation was interesting. I was with my 3 best friends in one giant room. We had 2 single beds and then a bunk bed, and I got stuck on the bottom bunk, which wasn't that much fun because I'm tall.
My favorite part about the abroad experience was having the flexibility to travel all over Europe. I traveled almost every weekend, if not every other weekend.
One thing I wish I would have known before I went abroad was not to bring so many heels. I ended up throwing out probably 4 pairs of shoes, and I came off the plane in New York with 3 pairs of boots tied around my neck, 3 jackets, and 2 hats, and I'm not being dramatic.
I wish before I went abroad that I knew to save up even more money than they kind of told us to plan for. Because especially in London with the currency exchange and everything, there's a lot of, everything is so much more expensive. Any advice that I would give to somebody studying abroad is to have at least one, more than one credit card available. My debit card got hacked from an ATM that I used. The worst experience possible was me coming home without having an extra form of way of payment.
The thing I was most surprised about is the bobbies or cops in London do not have guns. And it was the weirdest thing ever because they have to call someone to get a gun, and by that time you're probably dead. So I don't know how that works, but I guess since all guns are banned there, they don't really have that problem. But it was interesting how much more apparent gun problems were in the US when we were in London.
I had an internship that I went to for 4 days a week. That was the second half of the semester. It was with an event planning company. I got to go to a couple events like the Royal Philharmonic that the Duke of York put on.
It's definitely interesting to see the dynamics of the internship. It's very different from what we experienced in New York. They do not live to work, they work to live. And they would pop bottles of champagne Friday to like mark the weekend, and it was the weirdest experience for like the first 2 weeks. I didn't know how to handle it, and then I ended up joining in with them on drinking that champagne.
I was dying for SpongeBob Kraft macaroni and cheese. Like, they didn't have it over there. They had some kind of American food store that had like regular Kraft macaroni and cheese, but I was dying for it when I came back. The shapes are just. It's America's, like, definitely one of the top 5 things that America has is the SpongeBob or the Phineas and Ferb Kraft macaroni and cheese. Yep.
For traveling, we also used Bus to Alps a lot. It was a little more expensive than doing it on your own, but they knew what they were talking about. You had tour guides, you knew exactly where you were going, and it was just so much less work.
I don't really know what I was expecting of hostels, but I'm never staying in one again, ever.
Go back to London again, I wouldn't do London differently. My one trip that I would have done differently was going to Ibiza in Spain. We went just way too late in the season, and it was a little dead when we were there. My favorite spot in London was Camden Town. It was really like grungy punk, little boutique stores, and then they had huge markets all over the place.
My favorite spot in London, which was always kind of my go-to, was Covent Garden. The Tube was like the best part of with their transportation system. It was so easy to get everywhere, so it was nice to actually be able to. The most memorable moment abroad was probably when a bunch of us went to Oktoberfest, and one of my good friends and I shared a tandem bike. We ran into a pole. There was an Asian man. He was following us around with a camera the entire bike tour around Munich.
Now that I'm back at Marist, it has taught me so much better time management and being able to enjoy myself as well as getting good grades, getting my work done. And I think London completely changed me as a person for that.
My best English accent. Cheers.
My favorite part about the abroad experience was everything. To sum up my experience in one word would be eye-opening, and that counts as one word because it has a hyphen, so I'm counting that as one word.
My experience in one word, fabulous. And I'm not gonna try to do the English accent again.